Titleist have been using the adjustable SmartFit hosel for quite some time now, and I've often wondered just how much influence changing these settings at the neck can have on your ball flight. So I've decided to conduct a test to find out how much difference adjusting these settings can have on your ball flight, and in doing so, finding out whether it's an essential thing to have a fitting when you're going to buy one of these shiny new drivers. So I'm going to be using this TSi2 to conduct this test, and I'm going to be adjusting the hosel, and I'm also going to be changing the shaft to try and make this driver as high draw bias as I can and as low fade bias as I can, and see how much difference there actually really is. So at the neck I'm going to be using the A3 setting, which is the highest draw setting that you can get, and I'm going to be using the C1 setting, which is the lowest fade setting that you can get on this club. In order to enhance those ball flight characteristics, I'm going to be changing shafts as well. I'm going to go from something that's quite flexible and quite lightweight to something that's a little bit stiffer and a little bit heavier. The regular flex shaft is a TSi AV series 55 gram, which should enhance draw. It should help the ball in the air a little bit more as well, again enhancing that high draw. And the shaft that I'm going to be putting in the C1 setting, which is a low fade, is a hazardous smoke, and that is 60 grams, so a little bit heavier, 6.0 on flex, so it's stiffer, and it's claiming to be low spin. So I'm expecting this to enhance that low fade. So I've built two different drivers, pretty much the opposite end of the fitting spectrum. So with all the advertising and the hype around the fitting of these drivers, these Titleist ones, as well as other manufacturers, I'm expecting quite a big difference in the ball flights once we start hitting some shots. I'm going to hit 8 shots with each of these club specifications. I'm going to see how much difference there really is. Is there any difference in the peak height? Is there any difference in the curvature? Any difference in carry numbers? And total distance as well. So let's hit a few shots with this first spec first. I'm going to go with the A3 setting, which is the high draw setting at the neck, with this, well, fairly soft, fairly light shaft, the TSi. Let's hit 8 balls. Let's see what this club can do for us. Now let's switch to the C1 setting at the neck with a slightly heavier, slightly stiffer flex shaft. This sits 3 degrees more open and has 2.25 degrees less loft. So I'm expecting the ball flight to be a little bit lower and a little bit more to the right. And this setting is the other end of the spectrum on Titleist fitting chart. So we should be able to detect a difference. This club, to be honest, is a little bit closer to what I would regard to be my specification if I was to go for the TSi2. To be honest, the TSi3 is probably more suited to me, but this is as close, as optimal as I'm going to get. So let's hit some balls. Let's see if there's any real difference. Now, down by the ball, it's quite obvious there is a little bit less loft. You can't see as much as the face, and the club most certainly does sit more open. The shaft, yep, you can just tell straight away that it's a little bit firmer. So again, I'm expecting quite a bit of difference. Let's see what we get. So that's 8 shots hit with both club specifications. And from the ball flights, you could probably pick up some subtle differences in the flight of the ball and maybe even some of the yardages, but let's take a deeper look at the data. So as we can see from that information, changing the neck settings and changing the shaft can have quite a profound difference on performance. And although 10 yards doesn't seem all that much in distance, that can make a big difference when hitting shots into the greens. Now, interestingly, the dispersion was a little bit tighter with the specification that I didn't think was going to suit me, so that was quite interesting, but I think that's more to do with user input than the actual spec of the club. And all the differences were quite subtle, launch angles, etc., spin rates, nothing was dramatically different, but it was different enough once they all accumulated to give me that extra 10 yards. So if you're somebody that hasn't really been fitted for a driver in the recent past, I would certainly recommend doing so. And if you're somebody that has had a good fitting in the recent past and it was a Titleist driver, then I don't see any real need for you to go out and get another fitting. You could probably just buy one of these off the internet and actually adjust it yourself if you need to. If you found the video interesting and you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, you know where that red button is, so please subscribe. And I'd love to hear your comments in the comments box below. Have you been for a fitting recently? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel as though you gained much from it? Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.